Hey guys, my virus here, and in an effort to combat the sheer decline and rotting of my content, I googled the world's funniest joke. So today I will be speaking and telling you the world's funniest joke. So I'll just get it up. It was 2020 on a cold, brisk day. Larry, who I assume is the protagonist of this joke, decided that it was in his best interest to start a YouTube channel, just like Oh My Virus, sub link below. But he wasn't really sure what it should be about. After great thought, he decided he wanted to start a diss track channel. Remember this, it's a very important detail. At the very same time, the nicest man you've ever met was building a time machine. Him and his friend were having an argument on one specific thing they called the fact. And he was trying to get to the bottom of it as true or not. He couldn't quite remember the year the fact was relevant. So he set the time for 1996 and went on his way. The fact was actually just whether or not Paul, the nice man, was the first to meet his wife, then girlfriend, or GF as they've written. Or if his friend had met her first. His friend Ted was a sportscaster for the local hockey team. What a job. Ted was a bigger man who always wore a purple jersey, the colour of the local team, the Rhinos, if you were wondering, with his old number, which was 16, and gained the nickname Plum Ted 16. Classic. People would hoot it. He was basically a local celebrity along with the announcer. And local celebrity kind of reminds me of myself. The funny thing about Anne was that her nickname was Anne Announcer, like an announcer. That's good. I can see why this is the world's funniest joke already. She got it in college because some guy thought it was funny, but she just owned it. Paul's wife currently wasn't around because she was on a work trip for 3 months in a location with no cell, Wi-Fi, anything for the foreseeable future, because I need her not to be around for this story to work. Classic. Something went wrong though. Paul accidentally put in the wrong date and ended up somewhere along the same time frame of when cavemen were around. Classic Paul. He would struck up conversation with the cavemen, cleaned his wounds, and taught him some words. Once the time machine was fixed, he tested a few more times, visiting the caveman a few more times, bringing him food and water. The caveman, in his broken speech, grabbed both sides of Paul's head and said, "Mankind," which warmed Paul's heart. Oh, mankind? The man didn't understand names, but would often just refer to him as Kind Man or Mankind. Classic. Back in the future, Larry is going by This Man as his diss track name. Like, oh, this man, is it at it again? Classic. Sub below to Oh My Virus's second channel, This Man. I really want people to go, oh, this man, he's at it again. He was vaguely friends with Ted, and they were talking about Paul and how he'd been missing for a few weeks. They came up with two plans. One was to find Paul, and the other was to make a diss track about the argument, the fact, and how Ted actually met Paul's wife first. What Paul didn't realise was that the time travel has some unforeseen circumstances. It actually opened a rift into Hades, hell, whatever you want to call it, as Paul was travelling back to the future one time. Oh, hang on, that sentence isn't structured correctly. As Paul was travelling back to the future one time, he and the cavemen were grabbed by the devil himself and put in a cell. Whoa, where is this going? The world's funny, even I don't know where it's going. It's the world's funniest joke. There was also one other person there, a mortician who had accidentally created a portal. Whoa. From cremating a strange mixture of things, holy water, a saint who was actually a terrible person, cough George Pell. He wasn't a saint though, just a relevant joke with the times, and a cross that happened to be in the saint's bunny ears pocket. Anyway, circumstances aside, the mortician. End of paragraph. That's a weird way to end the paragraph. Well, because time moves differently, they were there for so long that the caveman started to think that this was their home. Tra of prison Hades, he started to call himself. He was learning quite a few things from the two others in the eternity that were there. Meanwhile, in the current timeline, Larry and Ted were looking for Paul. They broke into his house after him not answering and found the time machine. Well, they decided to go through, and Ted somehow saw the rift as they passed through and saw Paul and the others sitting there. Interesting. I don't know about you guys, but I'm engaged. They snuck in, broke the lock, and snuck. The rift closed and they were all stuck in the future timeline. They all argued about the fact Truh learned more English but still couldn't comprehend that hell wasn't their home, and so refer as Truh of Sel sometimes and truth of hell other times. Kind man and mankind were also two things that were around. We're getting towards the end, guys. They made Paul double down and reactivate the time machine. He brought everyone with him. Paul, Larry, Truh, the mortician, who was now a good friend, and Ted, all the way through to see who was right. They knew they had to go to every game in that season for 1996 because nobody knew what year it was, just sometime between 96 and 99. I just can't pick where this is going. Crazy. According to Ted, the setup for the sportscasting was that each of them had a table. Him and Ann, the other announcer, remember Ann announcer, sat looking half at each other, half at the screen, like a 45-degree angle or in a booth or the rink. The time that it happened, notification, block that. The time that it happened, Ted grabbed for his water and spilled it all over his pants. Classic Paul. And so had to walk out to change and started a conversation with Paul's wife just outside the door of the announcer room. Well, 2 years later then, I've said that abysmally. 2 years later than expected, they finally see the situation start, everyone goes nuts. They sprint for the alleged location. When they get there, they see it. Plum Ted is talking to Paul's wife in the hallway. They panic, thinking they'll be seen by past Ted and jump into a nearby closet. They gather themselves and everyone falls silent. They wait a bit and go over to the announcer's room after everyone has left to hide and talk until they can open the portal to the future again. Whoa. How far do you think we can throw that table, Ted asks. They all realise the best way to cooperatively throw a table is to get under it and launch it with their feet. Lay down under it and launch it out the window onto the ice. Turns out the announcer table they threw landed on Paul's wife and she died. No way. Paul's wife's dead. I did not see that coming. She's dead. It's nuts. They get back to the future and that man, Larry writes a diss track about Paul, the man who killed his own wife in the past. The song was called The Fact, in tribute to the journey they'd gone on together, but didn't realize that the diss track would gain so much momentum and ruin Paul's life. So Paul is left depressed, single, and with a viral diss track about him. He eventually commits suicide. Why am I telling you this? I don't want you falling into the same situation. Just don't let this man diss track you for the fact in 1998 that The Undertaker Truh mankind of Hell in a Cell and Plum Ted 16 feet through an announcer's table. Hang on, let me say this properly. Just don't let this man diss track you for the fact in 1998 that The Undertaker Truh mankind of Hell in a Cell and Plum Ted 16 feet through an announcer's table. Okay, it's a WWE joke, which I didn't really get. I think that guy died. So it got kind of dark. They got caught in a time loop, and Paul got dissed, so he killed himself after murdering his wife in cold blood. Anyway, I'm not going to do an intro as if anyone's been watching, because I very highly doubt anyone will have watched all 9.5 minutes of this. So if you did watch to this point, leave a comment below and I'll send you an Omo virus t-shirt. Everyone have fun. Have a good day. Good seeing you. Goodbye.